Okay, so now it's time to prep our pieces for the ultimate top coat. And this particular customer chose the Ultimate Top Coat Natural finish, which is a satin type finish, which I think is a perfect finish for this particular design, as well as prepping all these pieces for the Ultimate Top Coat. We're going to lightly sand. It's been 24 hours. I'm going to lightly sand with 220. And then I use a red ScotchBrite pad for catching my edges, catching these edges, and it works especially well for sanding the rock edges because you're able to get in all of those little crooks and crannies and crevices. When you are sanding your flood coat, you'll find that, and you have to watch for this, but you'll find that your sandpaper begins to load up with little specks of that clear coat. So what I have found is, I call this my own magic eraser. This is called a 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch by 8.5 inch belt cleaning stick. It's rubber. It's basically like a large eraser. So just to give you a little bit of a demonstration, as I start to, again, I'm very lightly sanding. All I'm wanting to do is basically etch into that flood coat because I want to create a mechanical bond for that ultimate top coat, something for that to bite into. So see how the sandpaper is starting to load up? Now I'll use this, again, I call it a magic eraser, but I'll use this, hopefully the camera's picking this up. And that basically takes all of that debris off of there and I'm good to go. So I used to use a paint stick to scrape that off, but what I'm also doing is I am either removing and or filing down the grit of the sandpaper. The rubber does not do that. Works fantastic, and I'm able to continue using this same piece of sandpaper, and I can tell that it has not diminished the grit on this sandpaper at all. So great little fun fact, great little tip. Back to the red ScotchBrite pad. All I'm doing again is I'm just wanting to create a mechanical bond, but most importantly is that's preventing me from sanding through my clear coat, getting into the color coat, and burning through my edges. So the red ScotchBrite pad works fantastic. Now, if I did not take the time to clean off my sanding disc, and I left those little pieces on there, what can happen is that can potentially put deeper scratches into the flood coat in which the ultimate top coat is not going to fill. And you may possibly end up with swirl marks. So make sure you keep that sanding disc clean. And I believe I've had this for more than a year. It shouldn't be, but it's actually longer than a brand new one. But you can tell, I didn't need to buy two. That's going to last me my whole entire lifetime. I bought those on Amazon, by the way. Okay, now that I have the top sanded, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to catch my edges. Even though this back edge goes up against the wall, I still want to make sure that I'm going to get a good bond with the ultimate top coat to eliminate any chance of delaminating. All right, continuing our prep, simply using press and seal to put inside of the paint tray. Protects the paint tray. After I'm done, pull the press and seal out, throw it away. The paint tray is still clean, ready for the next use. All right, de-shedding rollers. You need to get all the lint off of your rollers. Take some tape. Be sure to get the tip. And set that one aside. I always prep at least 2 dry rollers for every wet roller, and then I also have another one that is prepped as well, just in case I happen to roll off, hit the table, pick up some debris. I've got another roller that is de-shedded and ready to go. That simple. Okay, now that all of the pieces are sanded, wiped down, and prepped for ultimate top coat, my final step, and I am going to be using 9-inch rollers on this project. To me, it goes quicker, the roller holds more product, and I think it gives even a better finish. But right before I'm going to apply the ultimate top coat, I take a 9-inch roller and I put tape backwards to act as a lint roller. I don't know if you can see this on camera. These have been wiped down with dry paper towels. They've also been wiped down with 91% isopropyl alcohol. Then I put the tape on the roller, and I don't know if you can see this on film or not, but you can see all the little bits of debris that has already picked up. So, I'll go over it one final time, either long ways or short ways. And that gives me the best opportunity to not have any dust specks or any debris left in the final finish of the ultimate top coat. Stay tuned. All right, just mixed together part A and part B. We have 57 total square feet, and because I've had leftover in the past, I have mixed up 15 ounces. So we have 10 ounces of part B, 5 ounces of part A. Take that times 0.16 to determine how much water. That came out to 2.4. So I have mixed up, or I have ready, 2.5 ounces of water. So we're going to get these two mixed up together. And 57 square feet, I do have someone here to help me with the dry rolling. And we are going to be using 9-inch rollers. So I'll get this mixed up, get the water added on, and we will go from there. You can see how thick that is before adding in the water. Important also to scrape off your stick just to make sure you don't have any unmixed product on the stick. Add in our 2.5 ounces of water. Now on this first piece, on this serving bar, because of the aggressive rock edge and the fact that it goes all the way around the entire piece, I'm going to wet roll the rock edge first because I want to make sure that I take enough time to get on the cracks and crevices. If I were to roll the top surface first, then that top surface is going to be sitting and having the opportunity to set up before we get a chance to dry roll because of how much time I need and that I'm going to be taking to get the rock edge covered. These are 2 previously opened bottles, or the part A are 2 previously opened bottles, and because I have ended up with some debris that I believe are possibly the matting agents that have settled, what I will do is I'm going to strain this into my paint tray. These are basket strainers for the baskets that are in your sink. And so when I pour this into my paint tray, that's my strainer. That not as much product as I thought it was going to be. Okay, last and final step. This is an atomizer spray bottle, and I'm going to use this to lightly spray the surface prior to wet rolling. And what that does is that helps the product You don't want to use a regular spray bottle because the droplets are going to be too big. I'm going to stop there, and then I will miss the other pieces as we get to them. So, I want to get my roller saturated. I'm going to do my rock edge first, like I said, so I don't want to get it too overly saturated. That's pretty saturated. That's really saturated.
This is why it's so helpful having Roger around to be my dry roller. He really does a good job of looking things over, seeing if there's any spots I missed. He'll watch for any surface tension, and it's really a big help. So if you can have a second person, it really does make a nice big difference.
Now, if there is some areas on the rock edge, especially on an aggressive rock edge, that you find after you dry roll when you're looking back over it, you could take a foam brush and just lightly touch those areas in. I wouldn't do that on a flat surface, but I would feel okay with doing that on a rock edge. All right. I'm doing what I can to get the product put on fairly heavy. Temperature in here is about 7. Oh, there's some debris right there. Where'd that come from? Temperature in here is right at about 70, 72. There's more debris. Wonder where I'm picking that up from. All right, so now I'm going to back roll one last time with the wet roller before dry rolling. Boy, I got that on pretty heavy, don't I? Yes, sir. All right, go ahead.
So a couple things to note here is Roger, that's doing my dry rolling for me, he is keeping the weight of the roller on his leading edge. In other words, where the wire is at, because that's where it is the heaviest. So that's going to be on his leading edge to make sure that he doesn't leave any roller marks. And then also, you'll note as he is dry rolling the edges, that the wire is always pointing down. One of the biggest reasons for doing that is it prevents the tip, if you did it the other way around, it prevents the tip of the roller from hitting the table and picking up any debris. Also, there are some rollers that don't roll really well when you're not using the wire end.
We are on, time-wise, 20 minutes. So 12 minutes from the time that I mixed part A and part B together, we were able to cover 57 total square foot in a matter of 20 minutes. Normally it would have taken us a less amount of time to do that, but because of the amount of rock edges that we had, and also I'm going to take the camera over here. This was a time-consuming portion of what we did. And see if I can get a better shot. Because of the contoured rock edges, that took quite a bit of time to get in and out of all of those contours, the ins and outs, the highs and lows. So 20 minutes for 57 square foot. This is why it's important, if possible, to have someone helping you do the dry rolling, especially in the summer temperatures. I do have a climate-controlled studio, and right now we are sitting right at about 75 degrees and 40% humidity. But the fact that we rolled this 20 minutes ago, I don't know if you can tell, this area is already drying. I got a glare from that way. I don't know if you can see it, but this air is already drying. So that's why it's really important to not over dry roll the surface. Go over it one time, do an adequate job with the wet roller, make sure you have an adequate amount of product on, back roll one last time with your wet roller, then go over it just one time lightly with your dry roller. Got some debris right there. I don't know if we should try to pull it out or not. This is why I strained the Ultimate Top Coat. Now again, these are previously opened bottles. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to get it some different angles, but that is a lot of debris that came out of part A. And I'm assuming those are matting agents, but that's, to me, that's way too much. I mean, we should be able to pour that out of the container without having that kind of debris showing up on the surface. And I can't help but think that those are matting agents, and these bottles were agitated for probably a good 15 minutes solid. So that part of it's frustrating. Otherwise, application-wise, it really looks like it laid down nice, really looks good. And we'll come back and take a look at it once it's dry.
So this project really turned out nice. As you can see from the overview, there is no lap lines, there is no roller marks. The product went down extremely smooth as silk. There is no orange peel or texture, however you want to put it, but it really turned out nice. So let's do a recap. So I used the Ultimate Top Coat Natural, which is the matte finish. Make sure that you de-shed your rollers. If you're using 9-inch rollers, some brands shed a lot. So be very cautious and watch your tape as you're de-shedding your rollers to see how much debris and how much lint or whatever you want to call it is coming off of that roller. As far as your surface, wipe their surface down good. Wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol. Again, these are all things that work really good for me, and I've had very good success with Ultimate Top Coat. Making the homemade lint roller with the tape backwards on the roller works fantastic. Using press and seal on your paint tray saves the paint tray, don't have to wash it out, and you can reuse it again. Very important to use the RK3 Designs formula as far as how much product to use and how much water to add. For me, I always strain the Ultimate Top Coat. I want to do everything I can to keep my surface free of any dust and any debris. For me, again, I do mist the surface with the atomizer spray bottle using distilled water. And probably the most important thing, and I can't stress enough, when you are applying the Ultimate Top Coat, make sure you are applying an adequate amount of product with your wet roller. There's a big difference for me between lap lines and roller marks. Lap lines are what come off each end of your roller, either from excess material or from pressing down too hard. But put down enough product with your wet roller so your dry roller can do what it's supposed to do. And that is to lift, pull up some product as it's smoothing over the surface and go over it just one time. And back roll with your wet roller one last time before you dry roll. Really makes a difference and has made a really big difference for me. Again, I've had great success with it, and I hope this video has helped. Please ask if you have any questions. I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video, and let me know what works for y'all. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.